Hey, so again, I'm Mike Dulin. I'm an emergency manager with the Kansas City District Corps of Engineers. I've been working in emergency management there for about 2 years. I've been with the Corps for over 10, but in emergency management for 2. And then last year when the March flood got started up, I think that was right about my 1-year anniversary with the Corps of Engineers, so I had to learn quick, right? No better way to learn than getting tossed in the frying pan. But so today I'm going to talk about 3 things basically. I'll just touch on the 2019 flood, kind of a recap. I'll talk about the levee rehab process and where we're at in that. And then I'll talk about the spring flood outlook for this coming season. I don't want to spend too much time on the 2019 flood stuff because I know everybody in this room knows it was a bad year. To call it bad flooding is an understatement. It was unprecedented, historic flooding, flooding that we hadn't seen in quite some time. But as you all know, it got started off in March when what they're calling the bomb cyclone came through up north and dropped a lot of rain on top of a lot of plain snowpack. And that was all on top of frozen ground. So when that rain started melting off that snow, that all entered the system. A lot of it, most of it, below Gavin's Point Dam, entered the system in an unregulated fashion. And it tore through Iowa and Nebraska, down through northeastern Kansas, and through the state of Missouri on its way down towards Kansas City. And so that whole stretch of the river got really tore up during that March event. And after that, things kind of calmed down for a bit. It looked like out in this part of the country, might get away with a couple bruises. Didn't look too bad. Not to say there weren't damages out here, but then May happened and the rain started. And I didn't think the rain was ever going to quit. It just kept on raining. In the state of Kansas, it was the wettest year on record for the state of Kansas. And in many parts of Missouri, it's the same story. Wettest year on record in 120 years of record keeping. 9 of our 18 flood control reservoirs in the Kansas City District hit a record pool. From all that rain and flooding, we had 66 levees that participate in the Corps' PLE 499 program. Kansas City District alone, 66 of those levees were overtopped and 45 of them subsequently breached in 1 or more locations. All right, so honestly, this is probably the worst flooding we had seen since 1993. Not to say that 2011 wasn't bad, because it certainly was. Some of our response efforts during the flood of 2019, we had field teams going out to assist levee districts, their flood fight operations and help with levee patrols. We issued 1.6 million sandbags to the levee districts and the public. We had 6 sandbag machines out in the field rotating up and down the river constantly. 3 of those are automatic sandbag machines, 3 of them are gravity fed. Then we issued over like a mile of HESCO barrier, in addition to 25 pumps, and then we leased a whole lot more pumps. Spent over $1 million leasing pumps this year for levee districts trying to move water from their protected area back towards the river, because none of them could drain because the water is so high so long, right? So that's just a real brief recap of the 2019 flood. So right now, the district's #1 focus is on levee rehabilitation. That takes precedence over all of our other programs right now. So we're really trying to focus all our efforts and as many resources as we can on that. We received 119 requests for levee rehabilitation assistance after the March and May flood events. A lot of those were duplicate requests from levee districts that got damaged in March and then were later again damaged in the May-June time frame. So when you combine those, and in some places we'll combine contracts and do some other things, but we're looking at probably 70, maybe a little over 70 total levee rehabilitation projects when it's all said and done. Rough order of magnitude on that right now is around $80 million. When we actually get contractors on the ground and moving, it's probably going to be a little less than that. But 70 rehabilitation projects total, right about that's what we're looking at now. So the first step for the Corps in that process is to create what's called a project information report. And that's just a planning document that we put together on our end. Describes the levee structure, it describes the damages. It has a couple different repair options in it, and then it'll have cost estimates in it as well. So we put that together at the districts. We submit that to our division headquarters for approval. Once it's approved, we'll submit a funding request based on the dollar amount that we have in that PIR, that project information report. So far, we have over 60 of the project information reports that we've put together, submitted and approved by division, and then all the federal dollars associated with the funding needed to fix those levees we've been receiving. So from a funding perspective on the levee rehab effort, we're looking really good right now. So we're getting all the money we asked for and all the money we need to fix these levee systems. Once we have the funding and everything's approved, it goes through an engineering and design phase. We work with the levee districts. The levee districts are responsible for securing the right-of-way easements, the real estate, the borrow needed to fix the levee systems. So we've been pushing, working really hard with the levee districts to accomplish that and get that done. So we're making good headway there. And right now, we have, every time I write something down on paper, it makes me a liar because the numbers changed on my drive over here. But anyway, we've got about 8 new contracts currently awarded. This week, I think we'll have 30 contracts advertised, and over the next couple of weeks, I would expect to see that number go up really quickly. Now that being said, so once they're advertised, it's a 30-day period that they're on the street for bids. After 30 days, we open the bids, we take a look. Contracting takes a few days to select the bidder, and then we'll issue a notice to proceed to the contractor, and they get to work. And typically those contract windows are about 120 days. Sometimes it varies based on the magnitude of the damages to the levee system. Could be a little longer, or it could be a lot shorter. Even though we're making progress, we're still looking at the largest levee rehabilitation effort since 1993, so there's a very real possibility that to fully repair every levee system that's damaged in the district right now, it could be a 2-year effort. Now, obviously a lot of them are going to be completed a lot sooner than that, but there's always a couple outliers. Real estate stuff can get us hung up sometimes, and we just work through those issues as we can. All right, so that's all I'm going to talk about on levee rehab. I don't want to take up too much time because I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions, and that's what we're here to do, answer the questions. But so on to the spring 2020 flood outlook. I've heard the Weather Service call it grim. I've heard people say there's a wolf in the room. It's too early to cry wolf though. Don't hit the panic button. But I'll tell you, throughout the Missouri River Basin, soil conditions are extremely saturated. There's a lot of plain snowpack in the eastern part of the Dakotas, North Dakota and South Dakota, with about 3 to 5 inches of snow water equivalent. And then there's also a lot of plain snowpack in the Minnesota area too. And as far as mountain snowpack goes, right now that's looking about average. But mountain snowpack, it usually doesn't stop until mid-April, I think. So it's still got some time to build snowpack up in the mountains. But right now, it's looking about average. But for the plain snowpack, it's tough to say what that's going to look like. So if it melts off very slowly, say in a 10 to 12 day time frame, which it is warming up in the Dakotas right now, so we could start seeing some of that melt. If it melts off slowly over that 10 to 12 day time frame, might not feel the impacts real bad down here, right? But if it gets rain on top of it again, like it did in 2019, and melts off in a day or two, that's not a good situation. That's going to be a lot of runoff entering the system very rapidly, and a lot of that could come into the Missouri River system uncontrolled. So there's no dams to regulate it. It just pours in as uncontrolled runoff. So that is not a scenario we want to see played out. So if the plain snowpack doesn't cause us problems, I would say the biggest factor that we've got to worry about down here, obviously, is localized heavy rainfall or widespread heavy rainfall. The ground's still saturated out here, but the timing of that, the amount of that, when it happens, where it happens, your guess is as good as mine on that one. If I had a crystal ball, I'd tell you exactly when and where it was going to rain, but I don't know. So what we're doing to prepare for the spring 2020 flood season, we're going to have some flood fight training. We're going to do one session out at Napoleon, Missouri on the 20th of May. We'll invite several levee districts to that out. Excuse me. Some county emergency managers and other folks. That's the morning session. It's a full day session. The morning session is combined with like a lecture series where we go over features of levee system, failure modes. We talk about temporary emergency protection features, like how to build a sandbag levee, stuff like that. And then in the afternoon was the hands-on session where we actually show you how to do that stuff. So we'll show you how to set up PESCO barrier. We'll show you how our automatic sandbag machines work, and then teach you how to build a sandbag levee as well. We're also trying to schedule one of those in New Haven, Missouri. Dates to be determined on that, but probably sometime in the later part of May. And then also internally, we got a training session tomorrow morning for our core folks, our field teams that go out during a flood event. That's a 4-hour deal that I'm putting on. just to get those guys ready to go in the event that we need them this year. So, and also from a flood fight supply standpoint. So if we get another situation like we did last year and communities, levy districts find themselves needing supplies and equipment, if your county doesn't have it, if the state doesn't have it, they'll come to us and ask for it, and we can get it for you. Right now we've got 3.6 million sandbags on hand, 25 pumps. Most of those are PTO pumps that hook up to a tractor. We've got 2 6-inch diesel pumps as well. And then, like I said, we can also lease pumps for you too, as long as we're under a declared flood emergency. And then we got over a mile of HESCO this year, 10,000 foot of HESCO barrier that's also available. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna end it there and take questions at the end.